Hello, my name is Rachel Adams, and today I'll be discussing supporting students with traumatic brain injury through assistive technologies. I selected this topic because I've had a few students recently who have suffered from a concussion, which is a form of a traumatic brain injury, and I wanted to find ways that I could try to help them be successful in my classroom as they were healing from their injury. I want to start off today by looking at the roots of traumatic brain injury and looking at some of its characteristics. Traumatic brain injury, according to the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Strokes, is a form of acquired brain injury that occurs when a sudden trauma causes damage to the brain. TBI can result when the head suddenly and violently hits an object, or when an object pierces the skull and enters brain tissue. Every person will suffer differently from a traumatic brain injury, depending on the location of where the injury happens and its severity. Let's look at a clip from the National Institute of Child Health and Human Development to see some of the causes and impacts of traumatic brain injuries in kids.
Traumatic brain injury, or TBI, is an injury that disrupts the brain and its activity. TBI can result from a blow to the head, a jolt of the brain, or an object that goes through the skull. In the United States each year, 1.7 million people sustain a traumatic brain injury. Each of these heads represents 20,000 people. Of the 1.7 million injured, 50,000 people die, and more than 250,000 are hospitalized. TBI can be mild to severe. Severe TBI can lead to permanent disability and even death. 75% of brain injuries are mild, meaning they are not life-threatening. In the U.S., most brain injuries in children, 55%, are caused by falls. 24% are caused by being hit in the head with an object like a soccer ball. Among children older than 5, car accidents are the #1 cause of TBI-related death. Assault is the #1 cause of TBI-related death in those younger than 5. But even mild brain injury, like a concussion, can seriously affect daily activities. Mild TBI can cause problems with a child's speaking or understanding, movement, thinking or memory, and personality or mood.
As you can see, based on the information from this clip, that students will be impacted in many different ways that we cannot see. That's why the Brain Injury Association calls traumatic brain injury the silent epidemic. Most of those who suffer, especially from a mild traumatic brain injury, will not have any visible injuries to show they have experienced trauma. Project Ideal from the Texas Council for Developmental Disabilities gives us several characteristics for traumatic brain injuries. The 4 categories that I'm going to discuss here, the first is medical and neurological. So we can see students with speech, vision, or hearing impairments, decreased coordination, headaches, partial or full paralysis, and seizures. In my experience, the headaches have been the most impact on my students due to their concussions. Along with cognitive consequences also, decreased attention or organizational skills, poor memory, slowed information processing. It's just harder to get that information than it had been before the injury. A third category is behavioral and emotional. This could lead to depression, distractibility, showings of aggressive behavior, and a low frustration level as they're not able to do things the same way that they did before their injury during this time of recovery, or based on their permanent effects from an injury. And finally, their social skills development. It might be difficult for them to maintain relationships. They might show insensitivity to others' feelings and social isolation due to their traumatic brain injury. Again, every person will be different. As we're moving on from the roots of traumatic brain injury, we want to look at what we can use to support, and that's the trunk of our tree. How can educators support students? Well, one way we can do this is through assistive technology, or AT. And assistive technology is any item or piece of equipment, software program, or product system that can be used to increase, maintain, and improve the functional capabilities of persons with disabilities. So this applies to all areas of persons with disabilities. Let's look at 4 levels that we can break assistive technology into. The first level is no tech. This is environmental changes, actions, or strategies that have no tangible item used. This could be moving a student to allow them to be less distracted by others around them or some environmental item. Low tech is simple, easy to use items that are not electronic or battery operated. These can be giving them paper to write things down, or a whiteboard for working problems, anything that doesn't involve any electrical power. Mid-tech is lower cost devices that are electronic and battery operated but are simple to operate, like a calculator. A high-tech item is a higher cost complex device that could require training to use it effectively, like a video recorder, or it could be a specialized wheelchair or different types of seating that a student might need after suffering a traumatic brain injury. We want our assistive technology to help our students bloom and produce fruit. And so that's where we'll go into the leaves and fruit of our tree to look at the products used for assistance. On the low-tech end of assistive technology, you could use a paper organizer or calendar with your students to help them with their organizational skills, so they can keep track of daily things they need to do, weekly, monthly tasks, looking ahead as they might have difficulties remembering upcoming assignments. If they are suffering from their vision suffers after their traumatic brain injury, they might be able to benefit from having a magnification tool to help enlarge the size of the text while they're reading so they don't have to strain their eyes and brain so much. This shows one that would be able to fit over a sheet of a textbook and could be a benefit to students that it wouldn't have to be a big bulky item. Students could also benefit from having checklists. They might find it difficult to transition from one task to the other without a reminder. They can benefit from the daily checklists at home and school. Example of home could be remembering to do their homework, packing their bag, and each step, like in the morning, like brushing their teeth, feeding the dog, grabbing their backpack. And at school, there can be lots of checklists that are helpful too. Those could be posted on their desk or laminated and put on a ring to keep all of them together, and the teacher could hand them on the ring the checklist for each task as they're getting ready to do it in class. On the mid-tech options, a wearable timer could benefit a student that's suffering from a traumatic brain injury. If they're facing memory loss, the timer can remind them about school and home tasks. For this purpose, I chose that the mid-tech were items that cost less than $70. So this watch minder that is shown here was $70, and it has up to 30 reminders that a student can get in a vibrating message. That text and a vibration will come on their wrist to let them know that they need to take care of something. There is a new app also that comes from this that is for $1.99 that can be put on their device that we'll talk about in a minute. A label maker could be used to give students the ability to label the contents of drawers at home and school, and so they know where to put their classroom supplies. If they're looking for something, it might be helpful for them to have a description that their socks are in one drawer and their pants and shirts are in another, for when they're finding things or needing to put them away, to put less strain and to keep them focused on the task. The high-tech assisted technology can be a word prediction or speech-to-text software. Students could benefit from having assistance with forming sentences, and if they have the inability to use poor coordination with their hands to be able to speak and have it appear as text. The Co-Writer Universal has just recently put these two together, so now they have both word prediction and speech to text together in one program. This is $60 per student and $625 per school. The smartphone and tablet are also very helpful. It is many features in a portable device. Android and iOS devices come with helpful applications already, like a calendar and notes app, and many accessibility features can be activated to meet individual students' needs. And speaking of some of the apps that are available, here are some suggestions of some that might be helpful. The link at the bottom is a connection to 45 searchable lists of these apps. So just a few examples here. Audible Read Books Aloud. The Behavior Tracker Pro could be used by a teacher to keep track of how a student is doing in class and to give feedback to parents and teachers, and also do reflective practice about what they could do to help the student better. The Breathe to Relax helps students who are feeling stressed or anxious to relax. The Clear Record Premium will take out background noises and allows the student to hear recordings better. The concussion recognition and response can be used by coaches to identify if a student has suffered a traumatic brain injury in the form of a concussion and help them make the best response. Dragon Diction is a speech-to-text app. Evernote will bring together checklists and notes all in one place that a student can access from any device and continue to work on that and carry it along with them. ICE is for in case of emergencies. It stores names, phone numbers, addresses in case the student cannot recall a number in a case of emergency. The Sound app will help to amplify noises if they are struggling with their hearing, has been affected by their brain injury, and that will help to increase that sound for them. And then Today's Screen gives them a display of things they need to be aware of in any day, and it prioritizes items and puts the most important to the top as they look at it. Again, please check this link out for more suggestions. Finally, I want to talk about some teaching strategies that you can use. Providing repetition and consistency in the classroom will greatly benefit students who have suffered from a traumatic brain injury. Also, avoiding figurative language, providing rest breaks when needed. It's important. It puts a lot of strain on them as they're healing, as their brain's healing, so rest is helpful to them. Having consistent routines can be important if you have a student who has suffered a traumatic brain injury and it's going to be a lifelong effect on them. Keeping the environment as distraction-free as possible, keeping down the noise and distractions can be very helpful to them as they're healing. Give the student more time to finish schoolwork and tests. Probe the skill acquisition frequently and provide repeated practice whenever they're needing, as it might take them longer to learn information. And give directions one step at a time and provide written instructions when many steps may be involved. All of these options would fall into the no tech category, with the exception of the last one. If you're giving them a tangible list of directions, it would move up to the low tech. But all of these are great ways that we can help our students, and that are easy in most cases to do. And there's more suggestions at the Project Ideal website. Finally, I want to show the references that for all of my research. Please check out these links if you have a chance. There's a lot more great information that I could include here today, and you will find very helpful information for students who have suffered from a traumatic brain injury, or other students could also benefit from many of these resources too. So thank you for listening today. I hope this will help you, as it has for me, to better support our students with traumatic brain injuries through using assistive technologies. Thank you.